All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, the New York Jets are officially a top 5 team in regards to cap space. Right now, sitting at $36.4 million, according to Over the Cap. They're actually ranked 4th. They're just above the Las Vegas Raiders by like 300K here. But, I mean, man, what a good position for the Jets to be in. And keep in mind, we have over $60 million in dead money. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, there's so many guys that are owed money by the Jets this season that aren't even going to be playing on the team. And it just kind of gets you excited moving forward, you know, the type of flexibility when some of that dead money comes off of the books. Man, Darren Muji's really going to have a lot of flexibility here. So for the time being, could the Jets maybe look at potential free agents, guys to fill cracks of their roster, cheap one-year deals, bring in veterans? I think right now it would be pretty slim if I'm just being honest, like today, tomorrow, because I have a feeling Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, they're excited about the youth movement. They're excited to see what their draft picks, what some of these undrafted guys can do. And also, too, Glenn and Muji, they didn't draft any of the players that are currently on the roster. They might find a diamond in the rough, someone who's been stashed on, stashed on this roster, that they're like, hey, we actually really, really love this guy. We feel like he was underutilized here. Maybe they feel like, for example, like Braden McGregor is an awesome edge rusher, and the Lions really, really wanted him with Aaron Glenn, or Leonard Taylor, right? He takes a humongous step forward. I mean, that was a guy who was rumored to go in round 4. Where did the Jets get him? Undrafted. So you never know. Anything could happen. But it's funny. I actually did a video a month ago talking about specific free agents that I felt like were good fits for the Jets that they could bring in on a pretty cheap contract, relatively speaking. And literally, they're all still out on the open market. A month later, they're all still there. So I came up with like 9-10 names here of just free agents that make me pick up the phone, or if I was a member of the Jets organization, I would at least dive into the tape. See if these guys can fit your system on offense, on defense, if they come in as a position of need, and of course, if the price is right. So here are the names for me that I would at least look into. Julian Blackmon, safety from the Indianapolis Colts. I love his positional versatility as far as being a free safety or a strong safety. I really like what he was able to do back at the collegiate level with Utah. And of course, in his young career so far with the Colts, I'm intrigued by Blackmon, right? If they feel like he could play like as a drop-down safety, I would look into it. But if not, just roll with, Malachi Moore on the roster. Raekwon Davis is another one, right? Former D tackle of the Miami Dolphins, former second-round pick out of Alabama, most recently a member of the Indianapolis Colts, who was recently released. But he's 6'7". He is very, very long. He's coming off a pretty disappointing season. But, if the Jets want to maybe buy low on a guy with a lot of potential who's still relatively young, I believe he only has 5 NFL seasons logged into his career so far. Could that be a guy that can line up next to Quinnen Williams and potentially make some noise? Maybe. We have linebacker Shaq Thompson, who I feel like would be a great depth piece. Shaq Thompson has been on record saying that he is going to be playing in 2025. He does not want to retire. He still feels as though he has good football left in the tank, and that's someone who is a great fit for this system, would come in and fill that linebacker depth need. Outside, if Jamien Sherwood gets hurt, Francisco Mauaga would be the starting middle linebacker for this football team as things stand right now. A rookie day 3 pick. I like Mauaga a lot, but is that I'm just, trying to plan for the worst here. Sherwood training camp injury. All of a sudden we can be looking at a humongous, and then, God forbid Mauaga has something going on. Now we're really thin. So I think Shaq Thompson you could probably bring in, given the injury history, on a pretty, you could probably offer him the veteran minimum, which is what, $960K or something like that. Also, Steve Wilks' experience, coach on the field, coach in the meeting rooms, can really help teach Quincy and Jamien Sherwood the Steve Wilks style, if you will. So Shaq Thompson I would definitely look into. Of course, we have the 2 big-name wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. I feel like everyone has pretty much talked about those 2 guys by, just over and over and over again. But outside of those two guys, we also have Gabe Davis, who's still out on the open market. He's taken a couple visits. I think the Giants were interested with the former Dayball connection. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Denver Broncos had some interest in Gabe Davis as well. But outside of those guys, those are for me kind of like that tier one ish group of tier one pool of free agents that I'm probably going to be looking into tonight, tomorrow. If I'm Darren Muji, if I'm Aaron Glenn, but then you have maybe more so guys that have some question marks. Okay, do they perfectly fit the system? I'm not 100% sure, but all of these guys have made big time plays. All these guys have had great games, and in some cases have had really, really, really impressive careers. But again, they come with maybe more question marks than the others. The first one is Justin Simmons. Obviously, this guy can play, but of course, with Andre Sisco in the mix, with Justin Simmons potentially wanting to play for like a quote unquote contending team like the Chiefs or the Eagles, Bills, a team like that. I just don't know if Justin Simmons would consider the Jets at this point in time. But moving on, we have Jadeveon Clowney, someone who can play in a 3-4, a 4-3. He allows or gives the Jets a chance to be versatile at D end. If Rich Cimini was right here with Jermaine Johnson's Achilles comeback, if he's not going to be practicing until training camp, I do feel like it would be pretty smart to maybe address the defensive end position. Clowney's a vet. Clowney can stop the run. Clowney can set the edge really, really well. When you're thinking about Jermaine Johnson in this style of system, and just trying to picture, okay, a defensive end room with McDonald coming off one side and then Clowney coming off the other. Theoretically, I actually really, really like that fit in a 4-3. Now, will Clowney, want to sign for the Jets? I know there's been some interest before in the past, mutual interest before in the past, but I don't know. To me, it's just something to keep an eye on. Two older vets who I feel like are pretty unlikely, but definitely worth mentioning: Quandre Diggs at strong safety and Matt Judon as a pass rusher. I personally don't know if Judon will fit this style of defense. To me, he's more so that stand-up, style of rusher. But who the heck knows? If Aaron Glenn and Wilkes feel like, in situational appearances and Judon's down to come in for a cheap deal, maybe that could maybe make some sense, but also maybe not. Who knows? And then the last name I feel like I would honestly probably say is pretty realistic is Zadarius Smith. Now, Zadarius Smith obviously was a member of the Lions last season. They traded for him. I felt like he did a pretty good job coming in, trying to replace the production that Aiden Hutchinson had. But Aiden Hutchinson was on, like, that was a man on a mission. If he would have stayed healthy, he could have won Defensive Player of the Year, assuming the season continued to play out in his favor like that. But in any case, it didn't happen. Zadarius Smith comes in, wasn't the perfect player, wasn't a top 5 rusher, but certainly looked the part, certainly looked like he belonged. I'm actually really surprised that he's not back with Detroit. But regardless, could he reunite with Aaron Glenn and kind of fill that void of a veteran pass rusher? And again, if Jermaine Johnson has to maybe miss some time or even miss whatever it is, a quarter, half of training camp, those are reps that someone else could, like they needed to. The reps aren't going anywhere. The reps are going to stay the same. Jermaine Johnson, could not be there though. So who's going to be replacing him? That's really a big question. Again, if he has to sit out, has to, miss some time here. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Again, the Jets are right now sitting as a top 5 team in available cap space. The team sitting in front of the Jets: New England, San Francisco, Detroit Lions. Again, Jets at 4, Raiders at 5, and then a $4 million dip to the Cardinals at spot number 6. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and as always, go Jets.